Dragon Quest V is often hailed as one of the greatest JRPGs of all time, and is one of my personal favourites. I recently spent nearly 200 hours retelling the entire story with every piece of foreshadowing, relevant NPCs, lore drops, world building, all of it fused together with the emotion of the story into one seamless narrative. Now that I've reached the end, I want to share with you all why the final curtain call on this epic JRPG is so brilliant. Enjoy. The overworld of Nadiria was enthralled with a lingering eternal shadow, and lands were warped to a curve, unnatural and frightening. Amongst this wretched wasteland was a thriving town amongst the top of rocky cliffs. Strangely, 2 young slimes were transforming into humans to play, as if they were unbothered by the air of evil. Luca explored and checked out the inn. He found some terrible handwriting on the back cover of a book. It says, "Please come back to your home soon." The town is Johanna, the only town in the entire demon world. It has an inn, armory, weapon shop, monster tamer, bank, item shop, and even a bar. Some monsters have mastered the power to transform into humans and live a more peaceful life, but drinking liquor can nullify this. This whole time, Martha has been suppressing the great demon lord, but her life force is gradually growing weaker. Monsters who do drink end up like the weirdo running the wheels, and the weirdo asks Luca if he regrets anything in his life, and hands him a scroll of Johanna's history to help him. There used to be many people who aspired to be gods, yet their souls were corrupted beyond repair. They lost their humanity and became demons. The people of Elhaven were chosen to purify these evil souls, but some tainted blood runs too thick. Legends speak of one who was so far gone he couldn't be saved, so he was sealed away before any more mayhem was caused. When Luca picked up the forbidden scroll of Johanna, he saw a chilling picture book depicting the humans being changed into monsters. All humans here were once monsters. During those times, every day was filled with fights and continuous betrayals. But now, thanks to Martha, their mind and body have been completely changed. For example, this guy is really fat. The water that surrounds this town is holy water, brought from the surface by Martha herself. She is this town's saviour. But the great demon lord lives nearby, north inside of Mount Evil. He is a being with no equal and would never bow to the fabled legendary hero. And they set off toward Mount Evil. Ahead of them were the most devilish monsters the group had ever seen. The demon world was a terrifying sight even for the legendary hero. All of the world's evil was manifested into these lands. Within some mountains, they had found what was once the grand prison of the underworld. Luca found a book called A Treatise on Meditation. It says, "There is no man or beast in this world that could ever revel in my defeat. Deep down in the depths of the earth, my body rests in eternal meditation." And they had heard a rumour of a cursed whistle somewhere amongst the underworld. The demon lord is not an omnipotent god, but there is a rumour he was human long ago. Mount Evil stood there, menacingly, radiating satanic evil. The legendary hero and his family did not hesitate to enter. They put their fear aside and knew what had to be done. Luca felt a warm light flow over him. And there she was. Martha was awaiting for her son's arrival atop a holy shrine. She never thought this day would actually come. She was smitten by the fact he came all this way for her. Luca had inherited his father's will. Each second as a slave he never forgot. Each second in stone he never forgot. He managed to find his mother at last. She's filled with happiness to see her son after 27 years. She had carried his face in her heart ever since they were split apart. But she no longer had any regrets. The power of the Demon Lord looms over everything there is. He is greater than anything Luca had ever faced before, and Martha knew what had to be done. She spent the last 27 years suppressing his power to the boundaries of Nadiria, sustaining her own life on nothing except the hope that she might one day see Luca again. She knows if she could sacrifice her own life right here, she could seal away the Demon Lord's powers forever. She closed her eyes and prays to the God in heaven. She made her peace. She is content in being released from her shackles. Luca was there when his father had sacrificed himself, and he never thought he would have to watch such a thing again. Larger needs Martha to keep the doors open for the great Demon Lord and can't allow her to be sacrificed. He finds it so humorous to see the so-called feelings that parents have for their little brats. Larger had let Luca and the others live before, and now they've travelled this far, even with the legendary hero walking into the picture. He's going to end them right here. Everything in this world would soon fade away like a dream, and soon Nimzo will no longer have to rely on Martha's magic. After so many years, Larger is ready to send this entire family into eternal darkness. The family has come so far. Luca has come so far. They combined their spells and efforts together in order to best Larger once and for all. The family were occasionally stunned, and Larger was immune to countless spells and abilities, despite being able to attack twice as fast. The family grew stronger and overcame Larger, and a burning light now shines over him as he slowly, finally, fades away from this world. Behind his fading body, Martha was still there, struggling to breathe. She mustered everything she had left to look at her son one last time. She never dreamed Luca would grow up to the fine young man that's standing in front of her. She had missed everything. His first steps, his childhood, the years of slavery she could do nothing to prevent. But his wedding, his coronation, the birth of his children, every ordinary and extraordinary day of his life, she'd missed it all. One might say that Martha never protected Luca the way a mother should, and she'd always known that, but even then, she protected him from the terrors of the demon world. But if only this one last time she could come to his aid, she will. She took one last look at Luca, and she saw herself and his father's determination within his eyes. The same refusal to give up no matter what happens in life. She had one last thing to say to her son. She had the same instinct now as she always did ever since the moment he was born, to protect him. And those final words, please keep a safe distance, still protecting him until the very end. The journey must continue. Luca held tightly onto two mementos of his parents, holding them close to his heart to give him strength. His father's sword, and the empty locket that never got the portrait of his mother. As they pushed forward inside Mount Evil, they came across large tile rooms with confusing puzzles that you cannot control. One can only ride the waves of the tiles, and after a while, Luca had found his way to the prized treasure of the Sun Crown, and next to it, the Holy Water Vial. Martha speaks to Luca from the heavens and teaches him of the Holy Water Vial's power. It can protect Luca and the family from evil magic and let them pass through the fiery floors that would surely burn anyone alive. The following rooms were just as puzzling, filled with trapdoors and open spaces with no clear path. It had seemed as if somebody did not want Luca to progress any further, and the family had this distinct feeling as if they was being watched. They had found a strange contraption which was the cursed whistle they had heard about in the prison, except when you blow it, it shouts a shrieking sound. The next few hours was spent in one single moving room, a room so complex it would make any average person go crazy. One door had stared at Luca for hours, but he could not reach it unless he solved the puzzle. He had to move each room around in order to create a passage for himself, and after this mental challenge, he persisted through, past the gusts of darkness that surrounded the mountain's crevices, further into the ancient temple room, seemingly left untouched for centuries, where a chest was centered with an aura of importance. As Luca was lured toward the chest, a statue lunged toward him and split in two, ambushing the group. Ultimately, the ambush was a failure. They stood no chance compared to the legendary hero and his family. Beyond the ancient temple room, the world as Luca knew it ceased to exist. Rocks crumbled and floated above the sky in a burning deep orange and purple, a horizon that looked less like a sky and more like the last light of a dying world. It truly was a realm that existed beyond everything Luca had ever known, and standing at its heart, patiently, staring at the family, was the Demon Lord. Nimzo believes that he was the one chosen by fate. He is the king of the demon world, king of kings. After what seemed like an eternity, he at long last has become a god. Soon the world will be within his grasp, and he is the one chosen by fate. His existence surpasses that of heroes and gods. But Luca had heard these words before, from Larger, from Ibul, from countless servants of the followers of light. They all believed they was chosen. They believed they was unstoppable. They believed they served a greater purpose. But each and every one of them were no longer part of this world. Pancras stood strong against the birth of this darkness. Luca had experienced its consequences and terror at full force, and now, Bueno stands here at the edge of the world. Nimzo was about to meet the one who was actually chosen by fate, the legendary hero, and they clash in battle. Nimzo had fallen and hope was restored to the world. And then, he stood right back up. For just a moment they thought it was over, but the battle with Nimzo was just as he was expecting. Such irrational thinking from the family has forced them to witness Nimzo's true power. No matter how much they cry, how much they scream, watching them suffer is the best sacrifice they can offer to Nimzo. And now, he will finally put an end to the folly that is the bloodline of the legendary hero. Bueno had finally done what he was born to do, something that 3 generations of his bloodline had sacrificed to make possible. At long last, evil had been eradicated. Luca and the others had realised that the shadow that had seared upon the world was only a passing thing. Much like throughout history, evil had come and been eradicated by the bloodline of the legendary hero, and once again, fate repeats itself and proves there is a light and beauty in the world worth fighting for. The defiant blow upon the great evil had proven humanity is not easily conquered, and they will always stand against the odds.
By the name of Master Dragon, from my domain, I observe all that occurs in the human world below. Legendary hero Bueno, your father Luca, and your heroic family. Your brave sacrifices brought peace to the world once again. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Although, I think it's well past time to get rid of all these silly formalities. I guess I'm just bored with all that twaddle cause I've been spending so much time as a human. Now Luca, there are so many people who are anxiously waiting for your return to the surface. As a favor, I will be glad to escort you to each and every one.
Over at El Haven, the devotees of heaven can only imagine how happy Martha was when she saw Luca. They're so proud of him. Martha will certainly live on forever in their hearts. They used to cherish Lady Martha so much that they imprisoned her in her prayer room. They never understood how much Lord Pancras had ignited the fire in Lady Martha's heart. They're thankful from the bottom of their hearts for everything Pancras had done. Their next stop was to visit Prince Harry and Princess Maria. After so long, reuniting and telling the tales of their adventures, Harry was shocked to learn that Luca's son was the legendary hero. He is proud to call Luca his friend now, that the world is in peace. They have known each other for such a long time, and he hopes that they continue in the years to come. Luca shared with Maria what he had found within the temple of Saint Verez, her brother's last words which he wrote on paper. But since the world is at peace, her brother did not die in vain. Now, he is resting in peace. Next, they saw back to Luca's hometown, not Gotha, but Wheelbrook. The sister in the church had remained there all this time, ever since Luca was just a baby. That fateful day when Luca left with Pancras, she remembers it like it was yesterday. There is no better gift than the gift of world peace. A gift that is almost quite as good was seeing Wheelbrook rebuilt back to its former glory, a thriving, happy town. Luca's home was rebuilt, and a scholar who admires both Luca and Pancras chose to live there. And he becomes a shocked fanboy once he realises Luca was standing in front of him. A wife has just finished cooking, but it's all disappeared, and she blames Grandpa. Except this time the Grandpa did eat all of their food. They now head far west to the bustling town of Sarabona to visit Mr. Ludman and Flora. He's just ecstatic that the Demon Lord had been bested and a new era of peace has begun. He wonders how the world would have turned out if Luca had married Flora instead. There would never be a happier day than today. Flora and Andy thank the whole family for their efforts. Andy's become more confident with himself over the years in order to provide for Flora. He's shocked that he once competed with such an amazing man like Luca for Flora's hand in marriage. Nearby, they visit the nameless village to see Duncan. In his final days, he can't believe they actually took care of the terrible king of the demon world, and after all of that, they came to visit him. He couldn't be any happier. He wants them to stay the night and listen to all of their stories, but he understands the kingdom of Gotha is waiting. They promise to return real soon. Finally, the dragon god takes them back home, to Gotha. They have come so far in their journey. As they enter Gotha, the kingdom is celebrating with a feast in the halls. Even Dr. Agon had turned into a human to partake in the festivities. He quite enjoys being human. Martha's pet slime dances around the halls and Peach joins in too. The kingdom has never been happier than today. Songs are sung in harmony dedicated to the legendary hero and his family. Bianca has always thanked God from the bottom of her heart for putting the two of them together. She wants Luca to never let go of her and leave her sight again. And Sancho welcomes the king home. This man had carried baby Luca in his arms when they first left this castle with Pancraz nearly 30 years ago. He had grieved for Luca during his slave days under the presumption of death. He searched for him for 8 whole years and even raised his children. He had followed Luca across the world and fought demons even when his body refused to go any further. When he one day left this castle, he never dreamed that a day like today would ever come. He had given everything to this family, and yet here they all were. They were home.